The following are the words of Lou Civello, president of the Suffolk County Police Benevolent Association.
Police officers risk their lives to protect our communities and keep our streets safe. These officers are the thin blue line that stands between your family and the criminals that would do them harm. We are your neighbors, protecting your neighborhood. Hold the line. Support law enforcement. Stand with the Suffolk County PBA.
The following radio show is live, except for the announcement you're hearing right now.
Welcome back to Your Island Live with your host, Tom Schiliro, on 103.9 LI News Radio.
And once again, welcome back on our Wednesday edition. Now, as promised, returning to the show is Lisa Navarra. Lisa has really been on the show really a number of times over the last 4 or 5 years, talking about some of the great programs that she's authoring and putting together, all with the idea having to do with our young people, our children, the pre-K, and all programs relative to that. And now, of course, how to keep the kids safe on the buses, preschool programs for bus safety, and so on. Actually, starting to get a little bit of a national reputation out there. I understand you'll be flying out to Texas to actually do I guess it's a symposium or something. Tell us all about it. Once again, let me welcome to the show Lisa Navarra.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for always being such a great supporter of children and their future.
Yeah.
Yes, I am going to be a breakout speaker as well as a moderator at the TSD conference in Frisco, Texas. In November, and the conference is in November. I think it begins about the 9th or even like the 6th or 7th to the 11th. And I will be speaking about behavior-specific praise and the role of the school bus driver and teams, as well as the launch program that really empowers transportation teams to be safety leaders for our youngest riders.
I mean, I like it. I mean, how many parents will say to me, I've heard so many times, particularly this time of year, the schools are just starting, you know, they walk them out to the school buses, and some parents actually drive the kids to the school bus because they maybe be 1 or 2 blocks away. But it's always in the back of their mind, they're worried, you know. And I guess that's indicative of being a parent, particularly a young parent. We have people listening right now that are parents and grandparents, and there's a lot of grandparents that are taking care of their kids and so on. And you've been an innovator. I always talk about Long Island's leading citizens. You're right there on the list of people that are doing such great things. Last night, as I mentioned earlier in the program, we had the networking event, and there's just so many outstanding people. You were here last night also, talking about some of the great things that are going on right now. So I'm looking at a proposal here, and again, it's caught the eye. And I'm not going to give out too much information, but it has caught the eye of elected officials, and I call them bureaucrats, be it the Board of Regents and so on, at some of the things that they're expecting. You're putting together certain proposals and so on. Program called Launch. And so let's explore that a little bit so that we can get a whole idea, because we may be on the ground floor of something great right now today.
Absolutely. Well, there is a tremendous gap in understanding the developmental needs of preschool students who ride the school bus and what we can do to support their ability to make positive choices. If you go on the New York State website, you'll see that there's an estimated 2.3 million school-aged students who ride the bus daily, but you will not find any information on preschool students. Now, preschool is not a mandated program, but we have got thousands of 4-year-olds being transported to and from school, which is wonderful. It is the most reliable mode of transportation to get students to school on time and ready to learn. However, there's been a lack of training to empower the bus drivers and bus teams, meaning the bus attendants or even one-on-one aides that have been assigned to students, in how to support children. And so that's what Launch School Bus Safety Program does. It captures the developmental needs of preschool students while aligning the interventions with the New York State Pyramid Model and the New York State Early Learning Standards that are outlined to support 4-year-old children's developmental needs academically, behaviorally, and socially.
You know what's interesting is we have Thursday, we have our Albany report. Senator Murray, Assemblyman Doug Smith, Assemblywoman Jody Giglio take time out all the time. They're here every Thursday, and we talk about legislation. The folks who listen to this program call in on legislation that they'd like to see passed, or laws that do exist that they may agree or not agree with, and so on. It's not an easy task to formulate policy, be it what you're talking about or any other subject area in the state of New York. But to me, when you do something, it should be the result of the expertise of the folks. I'm going to put you in the folks category, all right? Just a regular person, background in education, doctoral candidate, yes, those are exemplary standards, but at the same time, coming up with this program, the launch program. And to me, when I read something like this, well, how do we implement it and so on? And I'm looking at a little bit of an outline here, the evidence, the data, and so on. What puts this, what is synthesized together that you can get some eyebrows raised from the movers and shakers in the state of New York?
Well, I really do appreciate the fact that you have identified the importance of being on the ground, right? Really knowing what children need through experience. So back in the early 90s, I realized, actually the late 90s, I realized how children needed to be supported on the school bus as an educator.
So this is not something that you woke up one morning and said, good idea. I mean, late 90s, I hate to say this, that's like 26, 27, 28 years ago.
I know.
But go ahead.
Absolutely. Well, I had students who had emotional behavioral disorders, and they were not transitioning calmly, sometimes on or off of the school bus. And I realized the importance of partnering with school transportation. So really, that's where it all began. And then it just grew from there. And when I say grew, I mean that you'll find people that now are respecting the importance of supporting children's ability to self-regulate, meaning can they manage their thoughts, their feelings, and actions? And as educators or service providers, how do we support that? So taking that as the foundation of children need to be independent really with their skills to be able to make positive choices for themselves, then we have a certain respect, because that respect says, you know what, children can learn given the opportunity and the positive climates. So those positive climates don't just end in school. They don't just begin in school. There is that transitional service called the school bus. But here is the actual key component of it all. And listen to this. If we look beyond the school bus as a transitional or auxiliary service, we can respect it in terms of it being a meaningful learning environment for children. And let us not miss that opportunity. And they've demonstrated themselves when they go into school, either ready to learn or upset because something has happened on the bus. And I surveyed 34 early childhood educators, and I asked them, what happens on the bus? Does that impact children's readiness to learn? 100% of them said yes.
Wow.
So that proves that it's beyond a problem where it's bullying or aggression or elopement. Those are symptoms, I believe, of not having structure to build a positive school climate that supports what happens on the school bus, as well as teaching the same strategies and language of instruction at home to the families. So across all settings, children are beginning to see themselves as independent decision makers who have the ability and the awareness to make positive choices based on, are they safe, are they helpful, or are they kind?
You got my mind going because I know for a fact that many people listening and just the average person out there never really gave it much thought on the school. What you're saying, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong, is that where does the learning day begin? Well, it begins on the entrance of the school bus. That's what you're saying. Am I right? I mean, you're shaking your head yes, so I guess I am right. Now, we don't think that way. And unless we get New York State to think differently. I don't want to talk about the whole country because we have a problem doing that. Let's just say New York State. Let's just say Long Island, however we want to put it. Unless we start to think that way, we can continue having the same problems that we do. Our math scores are bad. Our science scores are bad. Our reading scores are bad, whether it's on the lower level, or pre-level, or whatever you want to say, right up to the high schools. If we look at the school bus as part of the whole learning environment, which nobody does, I've never heard it in any way. I spent some time as an educator myself. I taught in the high school level back in the early part of my career when I graduated college. You never really encompass that in terms of being part of the learning dynamic, the environmental dynamic that leads to learning. And upon reading some of words that you have written and say that, there's almost saying, okay, we got to start somewhere. And in fact, you supported that by saying that if the school bus environment is nothing more than get on and get off, and who are we hiring to ride these buses? And they're great people. I know a lot of school bus drivers, they do their best. But if they're not trained properly, just like teachers have to be trained, we could have a real problem here. I think that you're onto something here. Okay, and I think it's important that we're bringing it out, and I'll point to this time and this place to say that to start something, that maybe it can move us into the direction of better schooling, better education, and better scores. Lisa?
Absolutely. And I am actually going to say that we should extend it into the families, right? Because they really are the children's first educator. So if they learn how to use the same strategies that the bus teams are using, as well as the class, now we strengthen school readiness. Hey, Tom, did you know that 10 to 30% of preschool children display challenging behaviors? That's a lot.
Again, that's outside the paradigm of most people, except for people that put their kids on and then they hear horrific stories.
Exactly. And preschool students are 3 times more likely to be expelled compared to their school-age counterparts. Mm-hmm. So knowing all of this and seeing through research the lack of investigations in what students in preschool need to be supportive of that school readiness, independent type behaviors, it absolutely warrants intervention-based training that supports the bus drivers to be the adult models who intentionally use practical yet evidence-based strategies.
To move that way. It's again, whenever a good idea happens, it's a matter of moving that idea along. I think the way I see it as a former educator myself, certainly not in the preschool area, but it's got to be to me. I think that's got to be the almost to use a maybe not such a proper phrase, a bullseye to where this whole thing has to begin. I think this is something that we need the attention. The people here on Long Island, the people here in New York State pay a lot of money for our schools. We have really the best schools. I've always said this in the country, but we also we pay a lot of money for them. But at the same time, if we could have programs that show a positive effect, and I look at something like this and talking about transportation, it's really right on when it comes to that. What kind of you're getting a good reaction because you're known nationally now. You're getting invitations to go to other states to talk about programs, to be part of a school bus safety program, the program launch, all of that. Reaction that you're getting from anybody, the bureaucrats, the elected officials, and so on.
They're in amazement that it's gone this long without being identified.
Yeah. I would almost say that to myself, but go ahead.
Yes, because again, maybe preschool might not be mandated, but there is longitudinal research that suggests that high quality preschool programs significantly contributes to students' academic and behavioral success in life and beyond. As a matter of fact, it goes so far into their adulthood that they have less crime rates and better BMIs based on preschool. Yeah. So this is just another way to strengthen students' abilities and capacities for all students of all needs.
I like the phrase academic and behavioral standards, or the illustration of those two categories and how we can move in that direction. Is this, I hate to use the word revolutionary, though, is this a program that it's going to require a top-to-bottom overhaul? Tough question, by the way.
It's a frame of thinking. See, the research is out there in terms of the importance of self-regulation, what the implications are and benefits are. The research is out there for certain models, and even the learning standards and benchmarks are there. So we have a foundation that has not been applied to the school bus environment. So if there can be a paradigm shift in thinking that school transportation needs to be embedded within the school ecosystem, now we can streamline what we know, and through the Launch School Safety program, we can provide those intervention-based, developmentally appropriate practices to reduce misconduct and increase safety and school readiness.
And all the other factors, it almost has, sometimes we say collateral damage, but this is collateral upswings, particularly, as you mentioned before, I'm just kind of paraphrasing, is almost an increase in academic excellence. You can see that happening. But there's something else that I'm reading a little bit of the report, is absenteeism, to cut down on that, because school does no good for anybody if the child is not there. And I have seen that, and obviously, if the environment from the minute they have breakfast in the morning to get on that school bus and to do everything that's out there, we're only going to benefit by that. Our schools will become more productive. They will become a true place of a learning environment. I know our teachers are trying real hard right now. We're seeing that. Education is under attack in many different quarters of this country. Again, I want to stick to New York State. We've always believed in academic excellence. Our schools have always produced the best and the brightest. I remember teaching on the high school level. I had students that went on to Harvard, Yale, West Point, Annapolis, and so on. They were terrific, but it all has to start at the preschool level. It all has to start somewhere. And I think what you're talking about is exactly that. Lisa?
Absolutely. And as a matter of fact, chronic absenteeism decreases by 20%.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Absolutely.
That's a lot.
And students who come from disadvantaged homes who ride the school bus also gains a full day of attendance. And let's not just stop there, because let's think about it, right? We're working in environments and climates and settings. So it's not just one student. It's not just two. Let's say it's the entire bus, or let's just say it's the entire class. So chronic absenteeism also impacts the other students' learning process. So it trickles down and is systematic. It makes sense to respect the school transportation service as one that can create a meaningful learning environment through building positive school bus climates that employ evidence-based practical strategies to support self-regulation.
And that says it all. You just that 2 or 3 sentences. I love the words, SAT words, by the way. But putting it in a place where people can see it and be concise with exactly how it will be implemented, to know what we're talking about right here. And see, it is my hope that the people in positions can look at this and say that there's a positive effect to this. And to me, I think to a large extent, from what we're talking about, from a cost factor, everybody's always working about money and the budgets and what's this going to cost. I don't see it. I don't see that being an issue as far as getting this moved in the right direction. And again, I'm just making a point of view. Your final thoughts on that?
My final thoughts are when we invest in children early and we give them the developmental strategies and tools that they need, we save money as we empower children to become adaptable in whatever situation they are in. And we really empower them to be the best they can be.
Sure, if you cut down on absenteeism, or you cut down on truancy, or you cut down on some of the negative effects of behavior and so on, that's a saving money right in and of itself for a lot of different reasons and so on. Lisa Navarra, any final websites or anything like that that you can put out there?
Yes, absolutely. Childbehaviorconsulting.com, and I can be reached at 631-617-1958.
Okay, once again, you could also contact the station if you need to get a hold of Lisa. I'm your host, Tom Schiliro. We got Rich Chris coming up next, folks. We'll be right back.